Hey guys, this is Brent with Lykins Motorsports. I'm starting another build, another 363 that I'm doing for Mr. Ron, and we're starting the head work on his engine today, so the cylinder head assembly. I actually bought these heads from Joe Crane, and they are nice ported Dart Iron Eagle heads, and they do really well because Joe has rubbed on them extensively. And I think the numbers were like almost 310 CFM at 650 lift, about 300 CFM, 295, 300 CFM at 550 lift. The exhaust side was spectacular. So with a pipe, 243 CFM on the exhaust side. So really, really good exhaust flow. So just to show off the heads, show off some of the parts that we're using. Everything's been surfaced and valve job, bronze valve guides, nice small combustion chamber. Everything looks really, really good. The valves that we're using are Manley valves, and 20216, if I remember correctly. I should have put a set of mics on those or calipers on those, but 7mm stem with a radius lock. These are Manley valves, severe duties. Yeah, 202 and 16. So things are going towards lightweight valves. The lighter the valve, the easier for the valve train and rocker arms and everything involved. The easier the job is for those guys. Less spring loads are needed. You know, you can use a more aggressive cam lobe, that sort of thing. So very lightweight. What did that say? 98 grams for an intake valve. And then this little dude, 86 grams. So lightweight stuff. You can immediately feel the difference in how small the valve stems are when you pick these guys up. Let's see. I've already started my install height measurements, so we're going to be at around 1790, 1800. Using pack parts. I'll show you those things here in a second. I'm going to spin this head around and let you look in the intake port. Of course, Joe does an excellent job. And I wish I would have been able to get these valves for the GT40P heads. I just didn't want to spend $1 million in valves. This is a off-the-shelf size, 20216. The sizes that we needed were not available readily off the shelf, if I recall correctly. So we went with some AFR 8mm valves, and we'll do okay with those. But let's see what we got here. So we got some AFR adjustable guide plates. I really like those guys, and that makes it easy to set up the geometry from side to side. ARP rocker arm studs, 7/16 base thread. Pack valve spring retainers. You can see them here. Steel retainers. Pack locators. And then we got a pack valve spring. And these will set up at around, I think, 170 pounds on the seat and about 380 on over the nose. Got a custom hydraulic roller cam coming for this guy. The rest of the build will involve a dart block. The block is already here. Should start machine work on it pretty soon. The crank is here. The rods are here. We went with a scat steel crankshaft and some scat I-beam rods. I am direct with Mahle pistons, so we do customs through Mahle, and I got some Mahle pistons for this guy with the correct volume that we need to get the compression ratio where we need them to be. And yeah, so we're just going to keep on moseying along. The cam is already here, one of my custom hydraulic rollers, and we'll just keep boogieing on. So can't wait to get started. I'm waiting on valve seals. So I thought that I had valve seals, and I was wrong on that. So I'm having some Ferrea Viton valve seals sent. I'll have those tomorrow. Not very many companies make a good metal body Viton valve seal for a 500 guide and a 7mm stem. So that's kind of what I was fighting against. But we'll get the seals on there, and start the assembly work. I've already checked valve springs in the spring tester, checked coil bind, seat, and open. So as soon as we have valve seals, we'll check our retainer to valve seal clearance and start assembly. And we got everything here that we need to have in order to assemble the heads. So for compression ratio, we're going to be at about 9.7 to 1. And I actually did a very similar engine a couple years ago, 363, and we did the same rotating assembly, but we used some AFR 185cc heads, and those guys flow, I think, somewhere around 285, 290. The cam that I used for that one was the same, almost the same cam that I want to use for this one. The specs are pretty close to each other, just because the cylinder head, the compression ratio is the same, and the flow numbers are kind of the same, the split between the intake and the exhaust. So the only difference, pretty much same intake manifold, what we're going to use, the only difference is going to be the cylinder heads. And I like doing tests like that just to see where I am with different combinations. So if the cam is the same, if the compression ratio is the same, displacement is the same, intake's the same, and we're just changing cylinder heads, then we can see how good of a program that we have with a particular cylinder head. So the reason we went with cast iron is this is going in an older Mustang, and Mr. Ron wanted more of a factory looking appearance. And if you've noticed, Joe has ground off the badges for the Iron Eagle part of the head, so it'll look more factory appearing. And by the time we get a coat of paint on this thing, won't really be able to tell it if the header's on. Obviously this is non-standard for factory, but it'll look pretty factory appearing, but it'll have the go-go juice of a big engine with a lot of horsepower. Alright, so I got some Ferrea seals in, but they fit the guides too loose, so I didn't want to take a chance of them sliding off. So I got these other Viton seals. These are not a metal body, but they got the bands, and they're the Viton rubber, and they fit the guide well. So I'm gonna go with those. I've used these before in other brands, and they work well. Couple critical measurements you need to take when you're assembling your cylinder heads. You got to have your install height. Very, very important. You need your seat load on your spring. You need your open load on your spring. You need your coil bind clearance. You need your retainer to seal clearance. So you get that simply by putting your retainer with a set of locks on it, pulling it up so it's at the top of the, well, where it needs to be seated, like if it were on a spring. And then you just measure in between the seal and the bottom part of the retainer. Different retainers are made differently, and some of them are really tall, like from the top to the bottom, so they can interfere with seals easier than others can. You want to make sure that you have sufficient clearance there for your valve lift, and give yourself 30 or 40 thousandths clearance. But other than that, it's assembly time, and we've got all these measurements. I'm going to recheck the chamber volume here in a second, so we'll check that. But we didn't need any shims, so everything came in spot on at about 1/800 there. And just use some steel locators. And the locator, sometimes people choose not to run anything underneath the spring on a cast iron head. On aluminum, it's mandatory, otherwise the spring will chew the aluminum, then you'll get a nice little wear marks on your head. But I would always recommend running a locator if you can. So this locator is made for this spring. It will positively locate this spring. So if you're located at the bottom, the retainer snags it at the top, the spring will not move. And that's what you need. So all critical things. So let me pop these springs on here and I'll show you the finished product. Okay, and now we have an assembled head. So we just go over, make a quick check, make sure all the locks are seated and that everything is the way that it should be. And I've already measured the chamber. So we verified what my machinist measured at first. I always double check everything, and we're on to the next head. All right, so the second head is together. I have CC'd them both. One chamber on the other head was 53 even, and this one's 53.6, so we're within 0.6 of a cc from head to head, which is acceptable to me. So I'm gonna get this cleaned up and then we'll look at both heads. All right, there's your assembled pair, Ron, and hope you're pleased with them. These will make some really good horsepower, and I'm looking forward to getting these on the engine. So all name brand parts, pack springs, pack retainers, pack locators, Manley valve locks. We got Viton valve seals, Manley valves. So this is how I like to roll. All name brand stuff. Everything has been checked. Chambers have been CC'd. Stall heights all been measured. Springs have been measured. So we're cooking with the gas. So we'll leave this here, and this will be your video for the weekend. And hopefully in the next week or so, we'll start on detailing the block and getting that here and painted and looking pretty. Crank is here, as I mentioned earlier. The rods are here. Pistons are on the way. Hydraulic roller camshaft is here. So we're collecting parts and we're starting to do assembly. So good times. Hope you guys are having a good Labor Day weekend, and hope you get some time to relax. This is Brent, Lykins Motorsports. I'll see you guys later.